and I am a reading teacher, second year, teaching in Northwest Georgia. And I wanted to make a video today to talk about some tips I have reflecting on my student teaching experience. I know a lot of you college students have made it almost all the way through your undergrad program in education in an extremely crazy time, having to take most of your classes online, and you are being sent forth into a world of education that is changing by the day. But alas, one thing has not changed, and that is you will be required to be a student teacher. So you will walk the path that we have all been down, and I am here to tell you that you will survive. You will survive and you will make it, and you will be an amazing teacher. But before you begin your student teaching experience, I want to provide you with 10 tips that really helped me, some of which I didn't know until the end of my student teaching experience, but they helped me survive and they have helped me become a teacher who's making it in her own classroom. So without further ado, on to tip number 1. My first tip is that it truly does take a village to raise a teacher. You cannot do it alone. My tip for you would be find a small group of student teachers going through the same experiences. I was lucky enough to have 2 girls with me at my high school that I did my student teaching, and they were amazing support because we're all going through the same thing. We might even teach the same students. So having that support system is vital to keep you alive and energized and with a positive attitude, working through all the challenges that student teaching will bring. Related to that is talk to the teachers on your hall. Use their expertise, use their experience to your benefit. They can give you years of stories of how they have survived through the hardest students, how they've had breakthroughs, and those encouraging stories can really help you motivate yourself to just become a better teacher, and a teacher with more experiences than you personally bring to the table. Use the experiences of others to help you just kind of figure out who you want to be as a teacher in the classroom. The veteran teachers surrounding you are a wealth of knowledge that you really need to tap into. Related to this, my second tip is don't be afraid of the administrators in your school building and dress professionally every day. I know my personal program did not allow us to take advantage of jeans days. Now, when you are a teacher, jeans days are the best days. But as a student teacher, I would really encourage you to dress professionally. Now, look at places like Amazon for some really nice skirts or dresses or pants. Old Navy and Taylor Loft, Target, all of those places are great resources for you on a student teacher budget, which I understand is very, very limited. But even check out your local Goodwill. I still do a lot of my shopping at Goodwill, so check out some thrift stores or some lower cost options for some professional dress, and talk to your administrators. Be friendly, be kind, and I promise you will impress them. Don't brown nose because they can tell the difference, but just be kind and make sure that they know that you appreciate the opportunity to teach in their school. My third tip is related to the goal of student teaching, which is to graduate, become a teacher, and start making money. So my great tip is to look for job postings every day. Check out your state's database for open jobs. We had a database in Georgia that I would scour every day during lunchtime, and every time a position came open in the district I was hoping to land a job within, I would apply. And I got my call for the job that I'm teaching in now while I was at school. It was the highlight of my student teaching experience, but you will not get a job if you don't apply. So definitely be looking for those job postings, because in the great districts, the districts that you might want to teach in, those jobs go very quickly. So be sure to be on the lookout for those job postings and keep an ear out. Like, My first tip insinuated making friends with the teachers on your hall and even teachers outside of your content area will make those connections that can help you get a really good job. My next tip is related to the children, the students. Yes, they can be the highlight of your student teaching experience, and they can also cause you the most heartache during your student teaching experience. So just don't expect perfection. You can't expect perfection from yourself, and you can't expect perfection from your children. You learn that very quickly when you have your own classroom. I think a lot of first-year teachers go into their year thinking that they will change the world and that everything will be perfect. And they can change the world because they definitely can change lives, but it will not be perfect. So just go into your experience thinking that you'll do the best you can do your best every day, but please don't expect perfection because you will always be disappointed. You're not their normal teacher. They know that you're a student teacher, that you are learning. Some students might take advantage of that. So I just encourage you to do your best and show kindness to your students, but never expect perfection from them. My next tip is related to really taking advantage of your mentor teacher's expertise. Become friends with your mentor teacher. Ask them for advice because they know how to teach. They would not be your mentor teacher if they didn't know how to teach. So ask them for advice dealing with a student who is not engaged. Ask them for resources or lessons that they found to be successful with their students because they know their students better than you do, and they can be an amazing support for you. Make sure you have a positive relationship with your mentor teacher, and they will be far more likely to have confidence in you to teach solo. Which brings me to my next tip. Teach as often as you can and teach solo as much as you possibly can. My mentor teacher was amazing because he allowed me to have full control over a 9th grade English literature class. It was terrifying. My mentor teacher was so kind to allow me to teach every single day by myself in my student teaching experience when I was absolutely terrified and had no idea how to teach 9th grade English literature. I still got to do it. And struggling through the first days of nerves and the lack of confidence that comes with being a student teacher, those moments are what I look back on anytime I'm having a rough day in my actual job. If I did it then, when I had no real experience, I'm okay now. And teaching solo really helped me build the stamina that it takes to teach every day, multiple periods each day. When you teach as often as you can, I feel like you start to think of your students as your kids. And that is the mentality that you really should have, or at least I think is beneficial to have as a teacher. You have ownership of their progress and you really do celebrate with every small victory. So teach as often as you can. You can co-teach with your mentor teacher. I would definitely recommend that because you will likely have to co-teach in your actual job, and the co-teaching experience is wonderful, but also solo teach as often as you possibly can. This next tip is something I never considered before I started my job as a first-year teacher. I had my degree in high school English, and when I got that call that I mentioned earlier, that was the best day of my student teaching experience where I was offered my first teaching job. I took a job teaching 6th grade, which I never thought I would be teaching. So I would highly recommend you using some of your time student teaching, brushing up on any content area you might ever teach. And I know that can be very broad, but I would really spend time looking through resources that your mentor teacher has, that other teachers on your hall have, just looking at their lesson plans, the way they organize their life as a teacher, to get those ideas so you will be prepared to teach whatever your principal throws at you. Related to becoming an expert in your field, we as student teachers myself as a second year teacher, we're not experts. Really, no teacher ever is. Some people might think they are, but we're always learning. And I would highly, highly encourage you to talk to other teachers on your hall and ask them to observe. No matter what content area they teach, one of the best experiences I had during my student teaching was observing an AP art history class. I will probably never teach AP art history, but the chance that I got to observe this wonderful veteran teacher teach these students who were so creatively inclined, that really helped me think of new and exciting ways to allow students to interact with content and have better classroom discussions. So I would observe a math teacher if you're an English teacher, or if you teach social studies, maybe observe a science teacher. I don't think there should be any limit to the content areas that you observe, because the pedagogy you might witness in these classrooms you would never know about if you did not spend time observing in different disciplines. I think that makes you a well-rounded teacher, and you never know what kind of team you'll end up on. Some teachers work within a collaborative team where lessons are structured holistically based on all of the students' needs. So you might have to offer input in a science lesson, even if you teach math. And so that working together is such a vital part of teamwork, and you will be on a team one day. So I would highly recommend looking at other teachers' teaching styles, discipline styles, and just sitting in any classrooms you can. My next tip is all about the nuts and bolts of teaching. This was my biggest struggle area as a student teacher, and that is digital organization. We live in a digital world, especially with the prevalence of online teaching during this time, and I would highly recommend using some of your student teaching time to set up organized Google Drive, if you use Google Drive, folders, setting up different areas of organization as far as the digital spaces you will be teaching within. I would highly recommend saving lesson plans, constantly revising as you teach based on what works and what doesn't, what you would like to do differently next time, and what you would like to keep the same. Digital spaces can become an area of chaos so easily, especially when you have to work within all of the email clutter and student samples that you will encounter in your student teaching and first few years teaching as well. If your mentor teacher is so inclined to share digital resources, I would take advantage of that. I would keep anything that comes your way, because those resources are golden when you are struggling through your first year teaching. Even if you don't think the resources you're using during student teaching will be relevant in your actual job, I would save them just in case. For example, when I was student teaching in 9th grade literature, we taught a unit on the Odyssey. And while I knew I would be teaching 6th grade and that might not be relevant, I kept the resources anyway. Well, lo and behold, this year I will be teaching a small unit on the Odyssey, of course, for 6th grade, but I can take the resources that I used for 9th grade English and just tweak them a little bit, make them a little bit more user-friendly for 12-year-olds, and I have my resources prepared. I would never ever trash a resource unless you personally feel like it just isn't very good quality. And then revise and keep going. The revision process brings me to my last tip. Use your student teaching experience to assess and reassess what you want your personal teaching style to be. Use the time to create a classroom management plan. Think about decor for your classroom, the environment you want to create, and even the logistics of where you would like to teach, what is important to you, whether or not you would like to be a coach or a club sponsor at the school you end up at, because those are the decisions that are much harder to make when you are in your first teaching position. it is so much better to kind of know who you are as a teacher before you greet your own children for the first time. I hope these tips helped ease your mind about your upcoming student teaching experience, and I hope they made you excited to begin this new chapter of your life. Like I said before, you will survive, and I promise you will look back at your student teaching experience as a badge of honor. So best luck to you as you begin this exciting journey.